I work in the service industry, so my schedule changes all the time. I normally work out before going to work, but my shift just got changed. So I ended up going to the gym at night. The gym was on the third floor of this commercial building near my place. It's the first time I've gone that late. I was waiting for the elevator when I heard a kid talking to his parents. They were coming out from one of the restaurants. The kid suddenly stopped walking and pointed toward the elevator. And he said, "Look, there's a lot of people waiting there." I was the only one waiting. Just me, standing there in my gym clothes with my bag. The parents looked over. Their faces looked horrified. The dad grabbed the kid and they walked out fast. They didn't even look back. I just stood there confused for a second. I was literally just wearing a baggy shirt and sweatpants. What got me was what the kid said. A lot of people. I was the only one standing there. I figured the kid was probably just imagining things. The doors opened and I got in. Pressed the button for the third floor. I waited for the doors to close. Nothing. It was still open. I pressed the close button a few times. Still nothing. I leaned out a little, thinking maybe somebody was outside and blocking the sensors or pressing the button. That's when I noticed somebody was standing around the corner of the hallway. I could only see parts of their shoulder and arm. "Hey, are you going up?" The second I said something, they moved back out of sight. They didn't even answer. I waited another second. Then the doors finally closed. The ride up was quiet. I walked through the hallway and into the gym. It was only around 8 p.m., and the place didn't close until 10. I thought there'd be way more people here. But the place was empty. Just me and the staff guy behind the counter. I mean, it's nice to have the gym by yourself, but after what happened earlier, I don't mind having more people with me. I started warming up. A few minutes later, I heard the front door open. I just remember thinking, all right, good. At least somebody else is here. Music was blasting through the speakers. Same awful gym playlist they always use. I was refilling my water bottle when I heard slamming sounds near the lockers. It took me a second to notice because of how loud the music was. I walked over to check. By the time I got there, everything was quiet again. Just rows of lockers, nobody there. I just stood there, listening for a few seconds. Nothing except the music. So I went back to my workout. I was doing presses in front of this huge mirror wall with all the weight racks in front of it. Every now and then, I kept thinking I saw some movement behind me in the reflection. Like somebody walking between the machines. But every time I looked back, there was nobody there. What started bothering me was the sound, or I guess the lack of sound. I never actually heard anybody else working out. No weights moving, no treadmills, nothing. Just that loud music. I looked around the gym again. Still just me and the guy behind the counter. I just finished up my workout fast. The whole place just felt off. I grabbed my bag and headed back toward the elevator. Thankfully, the doors opened immediately this time. I got in and pressed the lobby button. For a second, everything was quiet again. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice. Then the lights came back on. And suddenly, the elevator was full. People shoulder to shoulder, packed around me. Completely silent. I don't even know where they could have fit. None of them were looking at each other. All of them were staring at me. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. I remember one woman was standing so close, I could hear her breathing. Then the lights flickered again. Everything went dark for maybe a second. When they came back on, every single person in the elevator was still staring at me. But now, all of them looked angry. Like I've done something terrible to them. Then I hear the elevator ding. If you're new here, we post stories like this every week. Subscribing helps us a lot. Anyway, here's the second story. I keep a safe in the basement. Big old thing. Came with the house when we bought it. I usually go down there before bed for a few minutes. My wife used to ask what I kept inside it. I always told her it was just paperworks, important documents, things like that. Eventually, she stopped asking. Usually after the kids are in their rooms and my wife's downstairs watching TV, I head down to the basement, spin the lock open, look through everything for a few minutes. There's mostly small stuff inside. Watches, wallets, jewelry. Most of it came from people I never saw again after that. Some of it's expensive. Some of it isn't. There's an old wallet I still keep for some reason. Driver's license is still inside. I remember the guy fighting harder than I expected. I know exactly everything inside that safe and where it's supposed to be. That's why the watch bothered me immediately. Cheap looking one. Scratches near the clasp. It wasn't where I left it. I stared at it for a second. Because I knew I didn't move it. I don't mix things up down here. I checked through the rest of the safe. Nothing was missing. Everything is where they should be. Just that watch. While going over the safe, I heard footsteps upstairs. Movement around the kitchen. Then silence. I figured it was my wife upstairs. I reached deeper into the back of the safe. That's when something slammed into my back. My face hit the wall. My vision flashed white for a second. Before I could turn around, I got shoved. Harder this time. I tried blocking the door with my hand, but I was so disoriented, and I missed it. The door slammed shut. Right after that, I heard the lock turning. I banged on the door immediately, but nothing. The safe barely moved. Whoever pushed me in there waited until the safe was fully open. That's the part that got to me. because that wasn't random. The footsteps were slow, calculated, and they weren't in a hurry at all. I started yelling then, cursing, telling them to open the door, but nothing. The footsteps reached the stairs. A few seconds later, the basement door shut, and everything went quiet. I tried the door one more time. Nothing. The safe wasn't opening from the inside. After a while, it started getting hot and harder to breathe. I kept thinking about the combination. Somebody knew it. Or they'd been watching long enough to learn when I opened the safe. And somewhere upstairs, I could still hear the TV. Like everything in the house was completely normal. I've been doing roofing work for almost 9 years now. Mostly repairs, leaks, storm damage, stuff like that. After a while, most jobs starts feeling the same. Same calls, same problems, same homeowners telling you the leak just started, while the ceiling already looks completely ruined. Then I got a call from way outside my usual area. Middle of nowhere. Guy said he needed somebody to check storm damage on his roof. The pay was good enough that I took the job without thinking too much about the drive. Only weird thing was, he kept asking if I could come alone. No crew, no helper. I figured maybe he didn't want a bunch of people around his house. Some clients are weird like that. The drive took almost 3 hours. By the time I got there, the sun was already starting to go down. Big old house, sitting by itself near a tree line. No neighbors anywhere nearby. The owners were already standing outside, waiting when I pulled in. He was an older guy, quiet. There was a woman standing near the porch behind him too. Probably his wife. Neither of them really said much while I unloaded my gear. The owner walked me around the side of the house while I looked up the roof. That's when I noticed the first weird part. Nothing looked damaged. No missing shingles, no sagging, nothing. The roof looked actually solid. Old, but well maintained. I stopped and asked him what exactly needs fixing. The guy looked up the roof for a few seconds before answering. "There's something wrong up there." That's all he said. The roof was steep enough I had to watch my footing the whole time. I spent the first few minutes checking everything anyway. Nothing. No storm damage, no soft spots, no bad flashing. There wasn't really any reason for me to be even up there. Then I noticed something near the far side of the roof. I thought it was some kind of vent box or storage space. But the closer I got to it, the less sense it made. It was built directly into the roofline like a tiny room. Too small to actually store anything. And I couldn't figure out how you were even supposed to get inside it. I walked around it twice, looking for some kind of opening, before realizing there really wasn't one. No hatch anywhere, nothing leading into the attic. Just this sealed wooden thing sitting on the top of the roof. It looked older than the rest of the house. I looked back toward the yard. They were both still standing there just watching me. Neither of them had moved. I yelled down, asking exactly what they were asking me to check. The old man answered immediately. Tell us if you hear anything. I remember looking back at that box. Then I heard something inside it. Wood scraping against wood. I froze immediately. Then the sound stopped. I waited for another second, thinking maybe there was just an animal trapped inside or something. But nothing. I moved closer without really thinking about it. That's when I noticed the nails. Hundreds of them, hammered around all the edges. Different sizes, different colors. Some looked way older than the others. Like somebody kept adding more over time. I was still looking at the homeowners when the woman yelled from the yard, "Don't touch it." That was the moment the whole thing started feeling wrong. Like I wasn't there to repair anything. This feels wrong, so I wanted to go down. I was looking for my ladder. Halfway there, I realized the homeowners weren't watching me anymore. They were staring at that wooden thing, whatever it was. Then I heard it again. More sounds coming from the inside. Something dragging across the wood underneath the roof. Then 3 knocks. I felt them go through my boots. I looked back toward the yard. The old man finally said, "Usually it takes longer." I didn't ask what he meant by that. I just turned and started moving faster toward the edge of the roof. Then I stopped. My ladder was gone. I looked down. The homeowners were standing in the yard holding it. Neither of them said anything. And behind me, I heard the knocking again. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. We have more stories on the channel if you want to keep going. See you next time.